Chapter 16. Our faudra, mettre dans la bibliothèque du roi à Paris un exemplaire de dit livre. Louis XIII, Roi de France et de Navarre. As had been suggested, the next morning Damianos and his two companions bid their farewells to Lucantonio, but before they left, Antonio decided to give the Baron a copy of his Libro V, a book he had written some 20-odd years previously. Since I'm moving permanently to Cosenza, I thought to bring with me a copy of a book that I would like you to have, Lucantonio. You see, I was reading a couple of passages of it last night after we discussed Umile's prophecy at the issue of his inquisition. What I have written precedes the event. However, I believe it is relevant to Umile's devotion to the church. Lucantonio looked down at the beautifully embossed volume and was obviously grateful for the gift. Your Eminence, what can I say? I will read it, and perhaps I will come to Cosenza and discuss its content with you. It will be so very interesting to read of your opinions. What would be my pleasure to entertain such decisions with you, Lucantonio. I am already looking forward to it. Unable to control his curiosity, Lucantonio flipped through the first pages of the magnificent volume when his gaze fell onto a page written in French and signed by Louis XIII, King of France. This is truly impressive, Your Eminence. His Royal Highness King Louis VIII has even given you his endorsement to prevent anyone from unduly copying the treatises, I see.
Louis, par la grâce de Dieu, roi de France et de Navarre. À nos armes et sceaux, les gens tenant nos cours et parlements. Prévôt de Paris, bailli de Rouen, sénéchaux de Lyon et autres nos baillis, sénéchaux, prévôts ou leurs lieutenants et chacun en droit, soit comme il appartiendra, salut. Nous avons reçu l'humble supplication d'Antoine Ricciulli, avocat en cour de Rome, contenant qu'il désire faire imprimer et mettre en lumière la traite qu'il a fait et composer le livre Personarum et in peccato publica extentium, mais parce qu'il craint qu'ayant donné le lourd de son œuvre à des imprimeurs de notre royaume ne l'ayant vu et reconnu ne le fasse imprimer et mettre sous la presse, et par ce moyen empêche que les exemplaires qu'il en aura fait tirer à ses frais et dépenses ne se vendent et débitent bien en notre royaume et ailleurs à la perte et dommage, afin d'obvier à ses inconvénients et lui donner moyen de retirer en détail et par le menu dans certains temps ce qui lui convient débourser pour fournir à cette dépense qui retomberont sur lui seul. Il nous a très humblement requis et supplié vouloir défendre à tous imprimeurs et libraires français et autres de faire imprimer et exposer en vente le dit traité, livre imprimé par autre que par l'imprimeur que le dit Ricciulli aura choisi pour ce faire pendant le temps de 9 ans seulement, afin durant ce délai qu'il puisse, par la vente, qu'il fera se rembourser des avances et lui en octroyer nos lettres si nécessaire. À ces causes, après qu'il nous est apparu de la permission d'imprimer le dit traité que frère Petroni de l'ordre des prêcheurs, maître du Sacré Palais apostolique, a donné le dit Ricciulli le 22 septembre dernier sur l'attestation de frère Nicolas Ricard presbytre du dit ordre, Gaspard Spiti de la Compagnie des frères jésuites et Pierre Albertin, professeur public en droit, canon de l'Université de Rome, que l'œuvre ne contient aucune chose qui soit contraire aux bonnes mœurs à la fois catholique et qui profitera grandement au public qui est si attaché sous le conseil de notre chancellerie. Nous vous demandons, ordonnons et expressément enjoignons par les présentes que vous ayez chacun votre ressort et juridiction à faire comme nous avons fait et faisons, très express, inhibition et dépenses à tous imprimeurs, libraires, d'imprimer ou faire imprimer et mettre sous la presse le dit traité et livre, de le faire exposer en vente, ni débiter en lecture boutique d'autres impressions que de celle de l'imprimeur et à qui il aura permis de le mettre en lumière. Et ce pendant 9 ans seulement, sur peine de 1000 livres d'amende, confiscation des exemplaires dont ils s'en trouveront saisis, dépenses, dommages et intérêts du dit Ricciulli, et enfin que les imprimeurs demeurant dans les villes et autres endroits de notre royaume ne puissent ignorer les édicts des défense. Nous voulons qu'en faisant par l'auteur inférer ses présentes, au commencement ou à la fin des impressions de son livre, elles soient tenues pour bien notifier aux 10 imprimeurs et libraires et qui que ce soit adjoint comme au présent original, car tel est notre plaisir, donné à Paris le 15e jour de février, l'an de grâce 1622 et de notre règne. Il faudra mettre dans la bibliothèque du roi à Paris un exemplaire du dit livre, par le roi Louis XIII et son conseil.
Antonio smiled. Actually, I do believe the letter was written by the king in the early days of his accession to the throne. Perhaps the Red Cardinal had an input in its issue. What makes you say that? Lucantonio queried. He couldn't do otherwise unless he wanted to irritate the House of Medici further than he had already. It was time when His Royal Highness had exiled his mother, Marie de Medici, and Louis needed to be seen as assisting the Vatican and the Roman prelates in every way he could. So it was a political move, you think? Yes, Baron, I think it was. But it helped me a lot when considering that I was terribly at odds with the Red Cardinal shortly afterward. Shaking his head, the Baron turned his attention to Constanzo. I heard your cousin say last night that you are due to renounce the orders, brother Constanzo. Any reason for this? Yes, Baron. I cannot reconcile my desire to marry with the celibacy imposed by the Church. It will be my duty to continue to watch over my cousin Antonio in the meantime. An hour or so later the coach was taking the three companions back to Cosenza. Comfortably ensconced in the seats of the carriage, Damianos seemed pensive when he said,
Perhaps it would be a good idea, Your Eminence, to review some of the writings of your book.
You mean the one I gave to Lucantonio?
No, Your Eminence, I am speaking of the book that you have been consulting from time to time during our travels.
Oh yes, I remember now. I believe a copy is at the bishoprics office in Cosenza. Why would you want to consult the book at this time, Damianos?
It is always imperative to keep in touch with the Lord's advice, Your Eminence.
I must admit, Damianos, that I feel at a momentary loss when it comes to the advice of the Lord. Surprised, Constanzo turned to his cousin. At a loss? What are you saying? He switched his gaze to Damianos. I'm saying that I often thought of our Lord as a teacher, which he is, I'm sure, but also as a mentor, someone who walks beside me and leads me down the most profitable path in life. And isn't that the case at the moment? Constanzo asked. It doesn't feel like it, Constanzo. It feels as if I am in a vacant state in between two lives, if I can describe what I feel in this way.
Are you questioning your faith, Your Eminence?
Damianos queried. Antonio shook his head. Not at all, Damianos. I have no reason to do so, never have. However, the presence of the Lord at my side is important to me. I need to feel comfortable knowing that he will be near at hand if and when I am liable to fail. In what would you fail? Constanzo asked. I have never known you to fail in anything you have undertaken, Antonio. Why would you think that such may be the case now? Because the end is nigh for me, Constanzo, and I want my house to be in order before I leave this earth. What made you think of this all of a sudden? The words of Umile, Constanzo. What words are those? When he said, Tarry ye at Jericho until your beards be grown, he was talking about me. Yes, but that was at the time you were exiled in Umbriatico, wasn't it? Yes, however, I now believe Umile was not talking of Umbriatico, but of my earthly presence, and yesterday after we talked, you, Damianos, were rather in a hurry to leave the castle. May I ask why?
Our reasons are similar, Your Eminence, if not the same.
What do you mean?
You and Constanzo are due to return to another stage in our travels.
And where would that be, pray tell?
I think we shall be there shortly, actually.
With a snap of his fingers and round the next bend in the road, the carriage rolled into the city of Salerno and stopped in front of St. Matthew Cathedral.
I believe a visit to the cathedral is in order, isn't it?
Damianos suggested to Dan. The latter looked astonished, not to say baffled. I can't believe what just happened, he flared. How could you?
How could I what, Dan?
Damianos retorted, opening the door of the carriage. I was going to have time to read Libro V again.
Which you have in your luggage together with your book. Nothing has been left behind, believe me.
The three men were now dressed in suits belonging to an era much more recent than the one they had just left. Gustavo, at a loss to know what to think, brushed the lapel of his suit jacket as if he needed to feel the cloth in order to believe he was wearing such fancy apparel. Although I know where we are, Damianos, would you mind telling us what we are doing here?
Ah, very good question, Gustavo. We are standing in front of the Cathedral of Salerno because it is here that your great-granduncle decided to leave Italy for its propitious skies of Columbria.
Damianos then turned to Dan.
You are about to live, or relive, I should say, another episode in the lives of your ancestors. I am speaking of Generoso Ricciulli Conti, who lived in Castelnuovo di Conza, in the province of Salerno in the late 19th century.
All right, Damianos. I don't mind taking on another life to examine the past as I am required to do, Dan said, stepping under the arcade alongside the cathedral. But would you mind very much if we stopped for a while and rested at the nearest hotel? Honestly, I'm very tired. Same here, Gustavo rejoined. I need to eat something and drink some wine to wash it all down, if you don't mind.
Very well. But since we are here, let's take another look inside, shall we?
Dan couldn't help but smile. The old shepherd was still a stubborn cat. They stood in renewed awe in front of the magnificent apse above the heart of the cathedral for a few minutes, but when they came upon the final resting place of Pope Gregory VII, Gustavo stopped, bent down to read the inscription in front of the glass pane, and straightened up to look at Dan. "I think this Pope should have been you, or rather you should have been him." Dan frowned, uncomprehending. "What are you babbling about, man?" "Just read," Gustavo said, pointing a finger to the card. "Lexi iestitium audivi iniquititum propteria moria in exilio. I loved justice and I hated iniquity, so I die in exile." "Do you see what I mean now?" he asked once Dan had read the inscription. "You did the same some centuries after his death, didn't you?" "I guess I did, Gustavo, and now I begin to understand why I had to relive these lives. They all showed me what my ancestors went through to have justice prevail wherever and whenever they lived."
"Well said, Dan,"
Damianos agreed.
"And now we shall retreat to the nearest inn and spend a night of rest before we journey to our next destination."
When the three companions finally arrived at the hotel, Gustavo and Dan plopped down in the seat of the foyer and let Damianos register them for the night in the city.